Wrapping up the San Diego State game, I felt like probably everybody else in the stadium, it was a pretty kind of want way to start off. Gave up the explosive punt return, got a defensive stop, gave up the pick six, and I think that the air came out of the balloon a little bit. But from our inability to kind of recover emotionally from those things was definitely a part of how the game played out. But I think from a accountability and ownership standpoint, I think we also have to look at the lack of physicality that we played with on both sides of the line of scrimmage, our inability to consistently run the football, and our inability to consistently stop the run. This was the tail of the tape in the run game was a lot of it. And when you go into it, you've got a true freshman starting at quarterback. There's an old adage that the run game is a quarterback's best friend. We didn't really help Carter a lot in that phase and put a lot on him on third downs in particular. And I think that's something that we've got to do a better job of, is having a little bit more variety in the run game. I felt like there were some good things for us on the perimeter, but we didn't attack the perimeter consistently enough. And so I think from a preparation, game plan, and execution standpoint, that was really the glaring thing that stood out to me, was our inability to run the ball consistently and our inability to stop them in the run game, because then that opened up a lot of options for them in the play action game and things of that nature. And so that's definitely got to be something that we kind of lean into as we prepare for New Mexico this week. I think from a positive standpoint, I think that Carter kind of worked himself through some rough spots during the course of the game. And I think this is going to be an opportunity for him to really grow a lot. The speed, as the game went on, you could see it start to slow down for him a little bit. The things that get you off from a quarterback standpoint in details, fundamentals of ball handling, playing with a good base, footwork, and a lot of those things slid a little bit, I think, with maybe some nerves early in the game, and he sailed some balls. But one of the things that did happen in this game, even though it's not exactly how you want to have it happen, is we got an opportunity to play 17 either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen in this game. I think DJ Asiasi had his first catch. Carter Jackson and Dominic Kelly got a lot of carries. Obviously, Carter Jones at quarterback. And so I think there were some opportunities for those guys to get out there and play, and that was a positive. Looking ahead to the University of New Mexico, I think Coach Eck's doing a fantastic job in his first year there. I think he's really taken a lot of some of the playmakers that he had on both sides of the ball from the University of Idaho, and those guys transferred, starting with the quarterback on offense, number 2, Lane. I really see him as kind of a point guard. He does a good job of distributing the football. They have a lot of guys that they play. They kind of have a cadre of backs that they roll through. Some guys are better at certain skills than other. One is very effective in the throw game, but he's a capable runner. Number 6 is their leading receiver, Keegan Johnson. He's a polished wide receiver. He's played a lot of football, really good route runner. I think that Lane, the quarterback, I think he throws a really good deep ball, but he's accurate underneath. He's obviously got mastery of this system, and he does distribute the ball to a lot of different guys, including their tight end, who gets a lot of targets in this offense. So I think that's something that you see is the consistency of that. One of the things that early in the season they were awesome at not turning the ball over, and that was the thing that kind of provided a catalyst for him in some of their early season wins. And this last couple of weeks, whether it was against Boise or against San Jose State 2 weeks ago, the turnover bug has kind of bit them a little bit. And so that'll be something, obviously, with our history in that area, is going to be a major factor in the game. Defensively, they're pretty standard in terms of what they like to do. They're not a heavy man-to-man team. They like to play a decent amount of zone, but their front is long and active. And I think that's really the strength of their defense, is kind of, their edges. They roll a number of different guys. Number 1, the transfer from Idaho, who's a Montana kid. He's a really, really good football player. He plays both the run and the pass at a high level. But then there's 15, who's an inside guy that's a 6'6" guy, 10 on the edge. So they've got really good length and quickness on their front. And they rely on their front to kind of muddy things up in the run game with a lot of line movement. The quarterback of the defense is Coach Eck's son, number 6. I mean, he's a really good football player, in the right place at the right time, active in zone coverage, good run player, and he kind of gets everybody lined up and gets them rolling. And then they got a star nickel, number 18, that I think is a really good player, because he's long and quick enough to play effective man-to-man, but he's active in the run game as well. And then they've shown the ability to be explosive on special teams. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown this last week against Boise, and that's a phase that is that's probably their best phase in that area. So with that being said, I'm happy to take any questions.
You have such a young quarterback and all these young guys. How are you getting them prepared for New Mexico State coming up? You said earlier that he had a little bit of nerves in the beginning of the game. How are you shaking that frost off?
Yeah, I think that's, I felt like that was going to be something there. In spite of the fact that Carter is a very level-headed kid, a very mature young man, I think it's only natural that you would have a certain level of nerves. Probably be worried about him if they didn't have a certain level of nerves. And so I knew we were going to probably have to live through a couple of mistakes. And not only that, not just from the standpoint of Carter being his first start, but also because we were playing the best defense in the Mountain West Conference. And so kind of that combination, it wasn't an ideal first go for him. And I was very realistic about the fact that there were, probably going to be some moments that were less than stellar, but we were going to learn and grow from those and keep and kind of hang in there with him. And I think that I was proud of the fact that he was able to battle through some of the lows and kind of level out as the game went on, and I think that bodes well for him and for us in the future.
How do you think just giving Carter more reps? How do you feel like just giving Carter more reps in practice with the ones and just these in-game situations will just help him overall with just his competitive nature and his poise out there?
Yeah, just having a better feel where to go with the ball. Details like we talked about his footwork and ball handling and things of that nature, and that was one of the reasons why I let it roll with him on Saturday. Was he needs those opportunities, he needs more repetitions, and so I think that's just like any player. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and I think that's where we've got to get him, and I think we've got to do a really good job in the game plan of getting touches for the guys that can impact the game. And that's something that I've challenged Dave and the offensive staff on is making sure that, hey, we're not just calling plays here. We got to get plays that are going to be able to get the ball in the hands of players that we feel like have the ability to impact the game in a positive way. And Carter's one of those guys too.
You mentioned the inability to be able to run the ball this past week. I mean, what adjustments do you feel like you guys need to make to give those playmakers the ball?
Yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, you go into a game and you're thinking, okay, hey, we feel like we can do this in the run game, and it became evident to me almost immediately we weren't going to be able to move the line of scrimmage from the inside. They were stout and physical at the defensive tackle positions. Their linebackers are very active, downhill trigger players, and we were either getting hung up on the double teams and not getting to the second level, or we were getting off the doubles too fast. And so I felt like, we just needed more variety in the run game. We needed to be able to continue to attack the perimeter where we had some success, and then gap schemes are always an answer if you've got an active front. And so I felt like we leaned into the inside zone game a little bit too much in this previous game plan, and we've got to have more variety. I'm not saying that inside zone's not going to be a good play and it's not going to work, but hey, when you're running your head against that wall, let's have some more options in that phase.
You mentioned New Mexico's 100-yard kickoff return. How important will it be for you guys to just play sound fundamentals come Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of this game on both sides. Trying to eliminate explosive plays and create momentum for yourself in the kicking game. I think that's a big part of it. We talked about turnovers already, how impactful those have been for us in a negative way, and they've kind of bit New Mexico in the last couple games as well. And so I think, both sides, I'm sure, have a goal of playing a clean game, and I think that there's a lot of similarities. I mean, I think that we have an active front, they have an active front. I feel like their quarterback has a little bit more experience than ours, but there's some things that we can do to support him better within the game plan, and that's going to be the objective.
Are there some other areas you feel like you guys will match up well against New Mexico?
I think I think that there's always going to be that game of matchups is probably underplayed in football. I think people talk about that. Whether it's a pitching matchup in baseball or, an isolation game in basketball, where matchups and styles matter. And I feel like in hindsight, the style and the matchups that we had with the mass of the San Diego State offensive line and that how active they were on the second level of the defense, those were things that were not necessarily favorable to us. Not saying that we couldn't have worked around it and we didn't do a good enough job having plan in that area, but I think that there's probably a little bit more of an even playing field in this game, although I think they have some excellent players. I think Six is a really good player. I think Two's a really good player. Their tight end's a problem. Their offensive line plays well together. They're playing with confidence. And so I'm sure they're looking to get back on the winning side as they go back home to in Albuquerque. And we're looking to have our breakthrough as well.
I mean, yeah, you're around these guys every day. I mean, what would a win do for this program if you're able to go out and do that on the road this
I think
weekend?
it would be everything. I think it would put some wind back in their sails and give them some momentum and some kind of positive energy as we go into a short week against Boise coming off of this game and then into the bye week. And so, I want that for these kids more than anything. I mean, these guys have been fantastic in terms of coming to work every day and taking the right approach, treating each other with respect and dignity, and being good teammates, and all the things that you want your organization to be about. But at the end of the day, it's a production-based business, and I certainly understand that. And you've got to have those breakthroughs on the field for that positive energy and that positive direction to continue to occur. And so, certainly very well aware of that. And I think it'd do wonders for everybody in the organization, myself included.
This past Saturday's loss was the largest margin of victory that a Mountain West team has had against you since you joined this program. In terms of losing big, losing close, winning big, is this kind of a step back for you guys, or maybe just a one-off deal that we saw this past Saturday?
Well, we'll see. I think every game takes on a kind of a life of its own, and one of the things I've always tried to pride myself on, regardless of whether I was a favorite and an underdog, whatever the case may be, was to try to put a plan together that would give our kids an opportunity to win in the fourth quarter. And clearly that was not what happened on Saturday night. And from that perspective, I would agree that's a step back. And there's a lot of things that you can look at. Well, what if this? What if that? We don't get redos, and those things are kind of irrelevant. We get to go out and play the game, how the game's being played in the moment. And I think everybody, fans, coaches, players, parents, boosters, whatever, everybody within the organization was probably a little shell-shocked after the pick six, right? You go down 14-0, and it seems like the game's just gotten started. And as I said, I think starting with me, everybody's got to do a better job of resetting emotionally, calming down, and just go make one play after the other. And then, hey, we started to get a little drive going on that series, and ended up having to punt the ball back to them. But, you never know how the game changes if you're able to put a drive together and go down and score, and it's a 14-7 game, and you've kind of ebbed the tide of emotion and momentum that was on their side, but that didn't happen. And so that's what had to happen in that moment for us to make that a four-quarter game. Now, candidly, I don't know if we were going to be able to stop them consistently enough running the football that it would have made a difference, but that's kind of the style that I like to play, is drag them into deep water and see if they can swim in the deep end. And we didn't get that opportunity because we created too much momentum for the opponent on Saturday night.
I think it's safe to say that Marcus Bellin, when he's playing, and E.J. Smith, when he's playing, you guys are probably a better football team. Do you have an update on their status for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I think they'll both be ready to go, and we've missed having Jordan Brown at receiver for the last couple of weeks as well. And so we're hopeful to get all of those guys back and rolling. I think, injuries are injuries. Everybody's got to deal with them, and it's an opportunity for the next guy to kind of step up and do their thing. But I would agree that, having those guys out there is going to be a benefit for us.
And specifically with Marcus in the return game, what does he bring to the table in terms of dynamics that not necessarily Robinson doesn't bring, but there was a reason why Marcus was the main punt return guy?
Yeah, I think they both have a similar skill set. They have really good short area quickness, vision. G-Rob's actually got better, I think, top end speed than Marcus does. But I think Marcus he's just got a lot of reps at it. He's a very accountable guy, and I tip my hat to G-Rob. He had a couple quality returns for us and fielded the ball on some bomb punts that's hard, and especially at night sometimes where it's hard tracking the ball, especially in Mackey. It seemed a little dark out there on Saturday night. But, I think that's a luxury that we have. We have two guys that we can count on and trust, but Marcus has always got a few more reps and has a little bit more experience at it.
Message to the fans and the community for this upcoming week.
Yeah, well, I think that my message is going to be the same as it is to the team, which is, you got to continue to believe and have faith. This is Nevada's Division I football team, and when things don't go well, it's harder to stick your chest out and be proud. But I think that this is kind of our town, this is our team, and we've got to embrace that. And we're going to have a phenomenal opportunity the Friday after we play New Mexico to just celebrate football at the University of Nevada, with Thursday night being a Hall of Fame induction. Obviously playing a home game against Boise almost 15 years from the 2010 game. And then Saturday we have a night where we're gonna celebrate Coach Alt's legacy with a lot of his former players and tell some great stories and have some fun. And so I think that, while it's been a while since football's been something that everybody's proud of in Northern Nevada, you got to continue to believe that breakthrough's around the corner, and that these young men are going to continue to work and represent this university and our community in the right way.
Jet Carpenter had a couple of nice catches on Saturday, and he has had some this season too. Just, how do you try and get him more involved in the pass game?
I think that's, we talked about the run game being the quarterback's best friend. Tight ends oftentimes are too. They, especially on over routes, they can get lost in the middle of the coverage. And, Jet's a really athletic guy who has good ball skills. And I think I think there's a handful of guys that we have on offense that we've got to do a better job of building touches for within the game plan. And I think Jet's certainly one of those guys. And I would say Jace Henry's a part of that too, as another tight end for us. And as you mentioned a moment ago, we've got some receivers that'll be back in the fold. And so we just got to be smart about how we kind of, piece this together to protect Carter and help him to make good decisions. But that starts and stops with, number one, run the ball. Number two, protect him. And we did a pretty good job protecting him the other night, but we got to do a better job in terms of keeping the defense guessing by having them have to defend the entire offense.
Why do you think Dylan LaBarbera has just been able to be so consistent game in and game out?
Mindset, just the way he's wired, man. I mean, I think I've said it a couple of times, I think he's elevated the play of our D-line and our entire defense just with the effort that he plays with. And he plays the game the right way. I mean, he's just like, every snap to him matters so much, and he gives the maximum amount of effort, which is what you should do if you want to be a really good football player. And it's not always going to play out exactly the way you want it to, but if you continue to play with that type of effort and focus and the way he prepares, and he is physical. I mean, he is one of our stronger players, so he's very explosive, even though he's not tall and long. I think he creates a different set of problems for offensive linemen because he can get underneath them, and they probably don't anticipate the amount of force that he's going to be able to generate. And a lot of his plays that he makes are flat-out effort plays. They have nothing to do with technique. They have nothing to do with call or scheme, just his desire to go make a play.
I know you've crossed paths with Coach Eck a little bit in the FCS ranks. Could you just touch on your relationship with him?
Yeah. So he was actually on staff at Montana State when I was hired, and then he subsequently got hired at South Dakota State. And I think that, I've always, first of all, O-line guys, I think, make better head coaches than people think. I think that's kind of one of those like special teams coordinators and O-line guys. They deal with large groups of people, and they're probably a little bit more prepared to step into that role than other position coaches. But I've always thought Jason was a really good football coach and good family guy. I think his wife and my wife have a good relationship, and I just respect the job that he's done and how he's done it. Kind of climbing through the D2 ranks and waiting it out and getting his opportunity at Idaho and making the most of that, and then capitalizing on the success they had there and getting a chance at New Mexico.